Good morning. My name is Tim Brewer, and I'm president here at Mitchell Community College, and I want to welcome you on behalf of our Board of Trustees, our faculty, and our staff. Um, we're fortunate to be able to offer this facility today to talk about a very important topic, and we're glad to be able to do that for this community, for our faculty and staff as well. So welcome to the college, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you all for coming. I want to thank you first and foremost for your desire to do this work, for your dedication and your diligence that you exercise in this particular matter. It is a matter that is very dear to our hearts, and I've done 11 years with the Iredell Sheriff's Office, and children has always been a major part, and even now as I pastor Tabernacle Baptist Church, we try to help and do what we can with children, and adults as well are involved in these things. So I'm thankful for everybody's part, and thank you, college, for letting them host this here, and it is very needed. There needs to be a lot more of these seminars going on, and these giving out of good information. But we're going to go to the Lord in prayer and ask for his help today in this. And I want to thank you all for giving me the privilege to be here. And again, thank you all for the labor and the hard work that goes into this. Our Father, as we come before you this morning, we want to thank you so much for all of your love and your mercy that you have given and provided to us. Thank you, Lord, for putting this desire in the hearts of these people and the labor, their dedication, their diligence, Lord, as they labor in this area to protect the children. Lord, we know that you mentioned how important children are to you. You said that it was better that they be a millstone hanged about their neck and thrown in the depths of the sea than to bother and harm your children. I pray that you'd help them to be very successful. Lord, as this program is displayed today, Lord, may it go deep into the hearts of each and every one here. May it spread abroad, and may everyone get involved and do what we can to help. Father, thank you for loving us. Thank you again for these dear folks. Thank you for the college. Bless each one. We ask it, Father, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Todd Carver, and I'm very fortunate to be the representative for the southern end of Iredell County in our North Carolina General Assembly. And I'm very pleased to be here today back at Mitchell Community College, which is home to me, always will be, and just part of this very important program to shed light on a problem that's occurring in our midst. And I think that's a recurring thing that you're going to hear today. Very honored to know the guest speaker and delighted to hear what he has to say coming up. So I'll get out of the way. Thank you for being here today. Thank you, Mitchell Community College, for hosting this and all the work that goes on behind the scenes to make something like this take place.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here with you today. I'm humbled to be among such prestigious speakers and people that will come up and talk about their stories. My name is Stephen Brochu, and I'm a 29-year veteran of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department right here. I've spent my whole career there, and as a retiree, I retired as a deputy chief of police and had the opportunity and privilege really to engage our human trafficking unit, which was a remarkably important thing in my career. Today, I have the privilege of instructing and teaching for Mitchell Community and Community College. So with that, my goal is simple. I want to help you understand this morning what human trafficking really is, how it hides in plain sight, and why every one of us, whether you're in law enforcement, you're in public safety, or education, or just the community at large, has a role to play. Human trafficking is often described as a modern-day slavery. That's not at all an exaggeration. It's the exploitation of a person through force, through fraud, or coercion for someone else's profit. It's a deliberate stepping away of a person's freedom, dignity, and safety for the financial benefit of the trafficker. A man by the name of William Wilberforce once said, "You may choose to look the other way, but you can never again say that you did not know." That quote matters because trafficking thrives in the shadows. Shadows created by silence, misunderstanding, as well as disbelief. Ignorance is not going to make the problem go away. So today, as was stated before, we're going to shed some light on human trafficking. Some important statistics that I think everyone should know, and it also exemplifies the gravity of the problem. Human trafficking affects every country in the world today. Victims of human trafficking have been found to be exploited in at least 127 different countries. Human trafficking victims have been reported in all 50 states, and North Carolina, believe it or not, has consistently ranked as the top 10 states with the most reported human trafficking cases in the U.S. The most common type is sex trafficking. What is human trafficking? So let's start with the basics in plain language. Human trafficking happens when someone tricks, pressures, they force a person into labor as well as sexual acts. They control their ability to leave and restrict their freedom or movement. They use threats, violence, manipulation, or perceived debt to keep them trapped in their positions. They profit from their exploitation, and the motivation of the trafficker is always money. It's not about transportation. A person can be trafficked without ever crossing a border, leaving their hometown, or perhaps leaving their home entirely. Trafficking is about control, not movement. There are two primary forms of human trafficking. So sex trafficking, to start, involves forcing or coercing someone into sexual acts for profit. And a note for juveniles, there is no coercion needed. They are always a trafficking victim just based off of their age, no exceptions. The second would be labor trafficking. This includes forced labor in industries like agriculture, construction, domestic work, restaurants and hospitality, as well as manufacturing. Victims may be forced to work long hours, live in poor conditions, or have their documents taken away and restrict their movement. Both forms are equally real, equally damaging, and equally criminal. What trafficking looks like in the real world. So trafficking doesn't look like a Hollywood as they depict it. It's not always a dangerous kidnapping. It not always involves chains or restraints. It does not typically involve a dramatic rescue. What it does look like is a vulnerable teenager who's manipulated by someone that they trust, a worker whose employer controls their housing, their environment, their pay, their documents, a person who believes they owe a debt that they can never actually repay, or someone who appears free but is physiologically and psychologically trapped. Traffickers are not always strangers. They can be romantic partners, family members, employers, friends. We can have highly organized criminal networks, or simply one trafficker and one human trafficking victim. And victims are not defined by age, by gender, by their race, their background. Trafficking affects everyone. To our students, why should you care? You might be thinking, what does this have to do with me? Well, the answer is a lot. College students are at a unique intersection of vulnerability and influence. Students may be away from home for the first time. Financial stress can create openings and opportunities for exploitation. Social media makes it easier for traffickers to recruit, groom, as well as manipulate. And parties, nightlife, as well as dating apps create environments where boundaries can be blurred. You're connected, you're observant, you're part of the community where people notice when something feels off. And you may be the first person to be able to see a red flag. So red flags to watch for. Here are some signs that someone may be experiencing trafficking or exploitation. So they're not allowed to speak for themselves. They appear fearful, anxious, or even controlled. They have inconsistent stories about where they live or work, or even where they are. They show signs of physical abuse and neglect. They're isolated from friends, family, or their support systems. Someone else holds their identification, money, or modes of transportation. They work excessively long hours and can't leave their jobs. They don't seem to have many possessions. And keep in mind, no single sign proves trafficking, but patterns do matter. Trust your instincts if you see any of these. What is law enforcement doing, and what do we need from you? So as a law enforcement officer, I can tell you that trafficking cases are complex. They require patience, trust building, and a lot of collaboration. Most human trafficking cases are investigated by both local, state, as well as federal agencies. And they're all in a coordinated effort. It takes specific evidence, cooperation with the U.S. state's attorneys to be able to win a criminal conviction, and unfortunately, there are not many of those in these types of cases. Law enforcement also needs help to work in partnership with social service organizations, nonprofits, healthcare providers, schools and universities, and the community members at large. Law enforcement has always taken a proactive approach to training recruits about human trafficking right here in North Carolina. There's a specific block of instruction which I'm honored to be one of the instructors here at Mitchell to teach, and it teaches how to identify victims and how to identify traffickers, how to conduct trauma-informed interviews of victims, and how to investigate and make successful cases and engage stakeholders for these types of cases. However, law enforcement cannot do it alone. Trafficking is not solved by arrests, it's solved by awareness, prevention, and community involvement. You can help by paying attention to people around you, speaking up when something seems wrong, supporting organizations that help survivors, just like today, challenging stereotypes and misinformation. Please inform the misinformed, creating a culture where exploitation cannot go unnoticed. And so a message to future professionals. Many of you will go into fields like criminal justice, social work, public safety, healthcare, education, business, or perhaps public policy. You'll encounter people that are vulnerable, isolated, or even exploited. You may be the first person they trust. You may be the only one that notices these signs. You may be the one that challenges the trajectory or changes the trajectory of somebody's life. That responsibility is real and powerful. I call it hope and opportunity to try to make a difference. In closing, I call to awareness and I call to courage. Pope Francis once said, "Human trafficking is an open wound to the body of contemporary society. It's a crime against humanity." And he's absolutely right. But words can only heal when people care enough to act. So I leave you with this. Be aware, be compassionate, be courageous, and get involved. Be the person who doesn't look the other way. Because when we refuse to ignore exploitation, when we choose to see, to speak, and to act, we become part of the solution. I want to genuinely thank you for all of your time and the opportunity to be here and the willingness to come to this great event. Thank you all so much.
Good morning. Before I begin, I want to take a moment to thank Mitchell Community College for having me here today and Sherry Evans with Project Light and the Board of Directors for the opportunity to speak. It is truly an honor to be here. I also want to recognize my wife, Megan Parks. I would not be able to do this work without her and her love, her support, and her heart for the people that we are called to help. I'm glad to have my coworker, Lillian Combs, here with me today, and we're thankful to have her as part of our team. My name is Weston Parks, and I serve as the Executive Director and founder of the organization called The Value of One. My wife and I founded this organization in 2020 after recognizing a growing need not just for awareness but for action. We saw a gap between what people knew about human trafficking and what was actually being done to fight it and care for those who have survived it. That realization led us to step forward into this fight. Human trafficking is not new. It is as old as human history itself. Since the beginning of time, people have exploited one another for power, profit, and control. It has gone by many names: slavery, servitude, forced labor, but regardless of its label, it all comes down to one thing: the stripping away of a person's freedom and dignity and the imposing of another's will upon them. At the Value of One, our mission is simple but urgent: prevention, rescue, restoration. Over the past several years, we have worked both here in the United States and internationally, partnering with communities, law enforcement, and organizations to fight trafficking and help survivors rebuild their lives. Through that work, we have seen how trafficking operates on a global scale. There are what you call supply countries, places where individuals, often children, are taken, recruited, and coerced. And then there are destination countries, where those same individuals are transported, sold for sex, or forced labor. This is a global network. It's organized, it is intentional, and it's happening every single day. Before stepping fully into this work, I spent years in law enforcement. I began my law enforcement career in January of 2013 and served full-time in multiple agencies and roles, including narcotics investigations, working with federal task force, and conducting undercover operations. In April of 2025, I left that full-time law enforcement to take on this role full-time as executive director while still serving as a reserve deputy. Like many officers, I completed the required training on human trafficking. But I will be honest with you, that training barely scratched the surface. When I began to truly study the issue and understand the scale of it, I remember asking myself, how could it be this bad? How could there be this many victims? How have we allowed this to continue? And the truth I came to is this: without people willing to step in and take action, it will continue. I'm not naive enough to believe that I can solve this problem alone, but I am fully committed to fighting in every way I can. There's a quote attributed to Margaret Mead that has stayed with me throughout this journey. She said, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. That belief is at the core of what we do. There is also a story about a young boy walking along a beach where thousands of starfish had washed ashore. One by one, he began throwing them back into the ocean. An older man approached him and said, "There are thousands of starfish. You cannot possibly make a difference." The boy picked up another starfish and threw it into the water and said, "I made a difference to that one." That is the mindset we carry into this fight. Because when we talk about human trafficking, it is easy to get lost in the numbers. Globally, it's estimated that over 27 million people are trapped in human trafficking at any given time, with some estimates reaching closer to 40 million. According to International and Labor Organization, this includes both forced and labor and sexual exploitation. Approximately 1 in 4 victims are children, and nearly 70% are women and girls. And this is not just happening overseas. It is happening right here in the United States, in our communities. The National Human Trafficking Hotline receives thousands of reports every year, and we know that many more cases go unreported. Traffickers are not just taking people by force, they are recruiting them. They use manipulation, false promises, relationships, and fraud. They promise young girls careers, opportunities, love, and stability, only to strip everything away once they are under their control. Once trapped, victims are controlled through physical abuse, psychological manipulation, threats, and fear. They threaten harm to their families. They isolate them. They break them mentally. They convince them that they have no way out. And in many cases, they take their identification, their passports, and their ability to leave, locking them in apartments, hotel rooms, and even cages, and selling them over and over again. There's a widely cited statistic that says every 2 minutes a child is exploited in the commercial sex trade. Think about that for a moment. In the time I speak, for just 10 minutes, multiple children will be victimized. These are not just numbers. These are real people, real faces, and real lives. And I want to take a moment to tell you what that actually looks like. We have worked with young girls in Central America between 3 and 12 years old who have never had their own bed, never had a mother or a father who truly loved or cared for them, never played on a playground. But by the time they were rescued, had been raped or abused by grown men hundreds of times. We have encountered a 14-year-old girl being sold for $200 an hour by her own mother. We have seen young men trafficking groups of 12-year-old virgin girls being sold as commodities. We have worked with a 40-year-old woman who had been trafficked for over a decade, and the only relief she could find in her mind was secretly keeping images of the Bible hidden on her phone. We have seen young girls promised jobs and careers only to be taken from their families, have their passports stolen, and be locked away, sold day after day to the highest bidder. This is not a movie. This is not an exaggeration. This is the reality of human trafficking. Over the past several years, I have personally spoken with survivors, individuals who have lived through things most of us cannot even begin to imagine. I have seen firsthand how trafficking destroys identity, breaks families, and leaves lasting physical, emotional scars. But I've also seen something else. I have seen resilience. I have seen healing. And I have seen what happens when someone steps in and says, "You matter." That is why the fight is so important. Human trafficking thrives on silence. It thrives when people look the other way. It thrives when we believe it's someone else's problem. But the reality is, it is all of our responsibility. We must be willing to stand up for those who cannot stand up for themselves. We must be willing to speak for those whose voices have been taken. And we must be willing to act even when it's uncomfortable to us. Because change does not happen by accident. It happens when people decide enough is enough. And maybe you are here today wondering, what can I really do? You can get educated. You can raise awareness. You can support organizations doing the work. You can learn to recognize the signs. You can be a voice. And sometimes you can be the one who makes a difference for just one person. And that life matters. At the Value One, we believe exactly that every single life has value. Not based on what they've been through, not based on where they come from, but simply because they are a person who has a God-given right to live free. So today I challenge you. Don't let this be another speech you hear. Let it be a moment that moves you to action. Because when enough people decide to care, when enough people decide to act, we begin to push back the darkness. And just like that young boy on the beach, we may not save them all, but we will make a difference one life at a time. Thank you.
Welcome to North Carolina, and welcome to the excellent Mitchell Community College. A very proactive, bringing awareness to subjects like human trafficking to the community. It's a wonderful place to be today, and we're so thankful to be here and share with you folks. About 3 years ago, I received a call from a girl by the name of Jania Woods, better known as Miss Good News. And she goes to Livingstone College and has a radio station, FM 107.1. Jania said, "I met this guy, Devin Tucker, at a music festival in Atlanta, Georgia, and he was sharing his human trafficking experience. She's talked to me a little bit about it, and then she said, 'You got to talk to him.' So I did, and I found out that Devin was traveling to different places and as a public speaker about human trafficking. That's all I needed to know. We talked, and Devin came to Salisbury a couple of years ago and was the featured speaker for Project Light at an event that we had. What a great event that was. Devin has been on the 700 Club. He's involved in several initiatives to get the word out about human trafficking. Devin is the author of 3 books. In fact, I think some of them are on the table in the back, and he'll maybe talk about that. He's got an informative website, which I encourage you to go on. It's really easy to find, DevinTuckerFoundation.org. I met Devin in Florida a few months ago, I guess, Devin, and talked about him traveling back to North Carolina, and yada, yada. Here we are. Devin also has a full-time job, and Devin, we appreciate you rearranging your schedule to be with us today and bringing Nicole with you, too. But y'all didn't come here to see me or to hear about me. You wanted to find out who this guy is and, what does he have to talk about. So I'm just wondering if Mitchell Community College can do a real welcome to Mr. Devin Tucker.
I'm a bit emotional because had it not been for people like you, I would not be standing here in front of you. because I am a survivor of human trafficking. Not only was I sex trafficked, but I was labor trafficked. Born and raised Detroit, Michigan. I was kidnapped at 14, and I was sex trafficked across 31 states. And I did not get my freedom until I was 23 years old. That is 9 years that I cannot get back. That is 9 years that I cannot take back. Time that is gone. So, when I say give yourself a round of applause for taking a stand, give yourself a round of applause. The second thing I want to do is a practice. I want you guys to look around you. Look at all the people that you're looking at. I mean, really, look at them. Picture one of them not being here because they got caught up in human trafficking. The depth, the weight, the chemistry, the love, and all the understandings that you have with that partner, with that person. I say that to say this. Don't take for granted your existence because you're living. When I was being sex trafficked, I couldn't express myself. I couldn't express how to feel. I couldn't express desire. I couldn't express pain. Keep it in. You know the typical at 3 years old, keep your mouth shut and don't say anything. And I'm going to tell you how this journey began. It started when I was little, living in abandoned buildings, which brings me to my next point. If you want to be a hero, a real hero, be at home. Get involved with your loved ones. Because what you lack at home is what a predator is counting on. If you lack love, that predator will give love. If you lack money, they will give money. If you lack understanding, they'll give understanding. That's the whole point of a predator. They don't just prey, they study. They study you. They study, and this is a prevention. So my journey started at 14. I was kidnapped, walking out of an abandoned building in the cold streets of Detroit, Michigan. And a van pulled up on me. I'm thinking it's just a regular life that I live. Living in abandoned buildings, this gangbang life, this, maybe it's just another gangster that I'm finna approach, and next thing you know, he pulls out a gun and I freeze up. I don't know that this is my introduction, that this is my entrance to being trafficked. And so, next thing you know, I wake up in Wisconsin. Imagine being 14, waking up in Wisconsin in a white van with people who don't even speak your language. They were Haitian. And no identification, no contact with my parents, no cell phone, just nothing. I wake up and I'm in complete shock. I don't know what to do. I don't know, I can't call. I don't know. I just, I'm thinking is this it? They drug me, try to calm me down, and force me to wear suits, proper attire to do door-to-door sales during the day, and then to be washed and clothed and sex trafficked at night. I spent anywhere between 8 to 10 hours walking door to door, selling books and magazines, being followed by a van, being watched, 24/7 being monitored. blisters on my feet from wearing dress shoes, walking up and down the concrete. Doesn't matter what weather it is, they want to get their money. I tried to fight back, and they put a gun in my mouth. I've watched people get beaten and left for dead at Walmart in Alabama. Outside of that, um, being back in that van, looking at the other survivors, or, well, yeah, they're survivors now, but during the time when we were victims, I couldn't understand this whole psychological battle that was happening. Some of them liked it. I didn't know there was a thing called Stockholm Syndrome during the time, and some of them didn't like it. In my journey, not necessarily Stockholm Syndrome, but I began to believe that this was meant for me. Being labor trafficked during the day, and then being sex trafficked at night, living in hotels every single day. And the only bar of soap that I had is what they literally had in these hotels. And that's it. So if you're the last one to take a shower, well then, what do you think you're gonna smell like? You still feel dirty. Only to put a suit on again to be presentable for the next person. During the time where not so much as the Stockholm Syndrome, but more so of I felt like I deserved it because of all the conditioning that happened beforehand, from selling drugs to gang banging to living a life because my parents just simply wasn't around. I didn't know how to take that. And so I said, well, then maybe this is the life that was chosen for me because I had done so much wrong. This was, I'm supposed to be being beaten. I'm supposed to be being drugged. I'm supposed to be living this lifestyle. And so it became normal. And I wind up losing hope because there was a certain point in my life where I did not know whether or not I was going to get my freedom. I wanted to escape. I wanted to reach out to people, but I just simply did not know how because I didn't know who to trust. The threats towards my family and everything else that comes with it, me thinking that, oh, they must know this person that I'm selling books and magazines to, or when we take a stop at the store, they're watching and following my every move. I'm constantly being recorded. They must know these people, so I just gave up. And then one day, I decided to pray. And I said, all right, God, I don't know if you're real or not, but if you help me get up out of this, I'll come to you. Within 3 days, there was a sting at the hotel, 2011, February 6th, Super Bowl Sunday. Sting at the hotel on International Boulevard, Orlando, Florida. That is the day that I got my freedom. But it didn't feel like freedom. And I'm going to tell you why. I had to wrestle with some real mental issues. I did not know how to operate in a world of freedom because of living in a world of entrapment. There were certain words that I did not know. I did not know how to communicate properly. I was lost. I was confused. In fact, I was suicidal. I wrestled with my identity. Here I am in Florida, where I got my freedom in 90-degree weather, and I am fully clothed for years. It took me going to therapy, getting psychological help, which I encourage anybody, if you are going through anything mentally, please get help. It is okay. There is nothing wrong with you. It is human to seek help because it helped save me. Going back to where I left off, basically the psychological battles, the challenges that I was facing with trying to function in society, trying to function in a world of freedom I didn't know of. What does that look like? Well, for the most part, if you don't look like where you come from, it doesn't mean you're not experiencing a healing process. And so there were times where I was being judged because I didn't know words, or certain situations I'm supposed to adjust and adapt and be familiar with, but it wasn't registering. I didn't know how to process. It wasn't like going to jail where you get updated on civilization and all these things. This is a real isolation. When you're being trafficked, or for example, when I was being trafficked, I was cut off from everything. There was no commute. There was no contact. All I have is a hotel key card. That's it. Like, that's it. I don't have no identification. I can't call people. I don't have friends. You are cut off from the world. What am I supposed to do when I get out here and get my freedom? I don't know what to do. It took a year to get all my identification. I had a hard time working because of the PTSD. Did not respond to employers very well when they said, Devin, I need you to do this. I'm like, who are you talking to? Because it's a controlling thing that it's like, you're not going to tell me what to do. But I didn't understand that stems from being told what to do and being controlled in the world of human trafficking. See, I was told to keep my mouth shut. I was told to not be happy. I was told to not cry. I was told to hold everything in from 14 all the way to 23. I was forced to be happy when having sex with women and men of all ages. That stripped my identity all the way down to where I did not want to talk to anybody when I got my freedom. It was very hard to appreciate my freedom because how could this happen? The only way I was able to break through was through Jesus. I had to stay in church every day faithfully. The same FBI agent that helped me get my freedom is the same FBI agent that helped lead me to the Lord. He said, you're not free just yet. Do you know who your Lord and Savior is? He introduced this quote to me. He said, for God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son. And then he made it personal. He said, for God so loved Devin. Things started to change in my mind. It took me 3 hours that day, literally, to accept Jesus as my Lord and Savior. Because all I could think about is where I'm going to live, where I'm going to stay, what I'm going to do. Like, I don't got nowhere to go. I don't have nowhere to stay. I got my freedom, but free to what? where am I going? What am I doing? Like, I'd rather go back. This ain't working. The world that I'm in ain't working. I took it step by step and day by day. Florida Abolitionists is the organization that helped me get my freedom. They're not United Abolitionists. Through training and through other organizations like Project Light, the police task force, governors, commissioners, senates, mayors, the list goes on, including you students that are here. It is very important that you are here because there are so many things that are hidden in plain sight that you don't know, that I've yet to even touch when it comes to human trafficking. What to look out for. And I'm not talking about a key, but paying attention to what's missing. These are the things that are hidden in plain sight. But before I even touch that, we're going to talk about social media. There is an art in catfishing in this day and time when it comes to modern day slavery. There is a thing called non-responders. And how many of you, by the show of hands, know what a non-responder is? Nobody. Okay. So, a non-responder is somebody who creates an account. This is a form of grooming and recruiting. A non-responder is somebody who basically creates a social media account and they act as if they are the same age as the person they want to get involved with or the child, which, you know, your family members, your loved ones. What they do when they create this account, they get somebody that's their age, they download their pictures and videos. But before that, they're already studying your person. They are watching every picture, every video, even though there is no address. They're not saying, hey, I'm Kimberly and I'm at 13405. They may not be boldly saying it, but they're watching. A non-responder creates an account, and then what they're doing is they're watching your child. They're watching your loved ones. She can post or he can post a video or a picture of the room. They now have surveillance of what that room looks like. A couple of hours later, they may post a picture or video of the movie theater. We're at so-and-so movie theater in downtown XYZ. Now that predator knows, okay, house, don't know where that's at, but I know where that movie theater at, and that movie theater may be in the area of where that house is. If they post pics and videos of school, now they not only have a theater, but they have a school. They're already surveillancing your whole child or you lifestyle. And this is where the intense study begins. When your child or when you start to express how you feel on social media, they begin to take notes. Mom not around, XYZ, I could be their mom for them. Not enough love, they live in poor condition, I can give them something better. You ain't got McDonald's money? Cool, we're gonna give you McDonald's money now. These are things to pay attention to. And so developing a relationship to talk to your child and let them know it's not that I don't trust you. I need to see your phone because I need to call this person that is in your DMs. Now, the non-responding, I'm going to get back to that because it's on the same subject. What these non-responders do is they'll watch and watch and watch. But the non-responding part comes in, I'm not going to comment, I'm not going to like, and I'm not going to share because those are tags that trace back to the account. and it's easier for the police to be like, oh, got him, it's this person. And so these non-responders, they just have a way of just watching and watching, and all of a sudden, then they sneak into the DMs. Now your child has a friend, or you have a friend that you haven't even spoken to, haven't even reached out to, haven't talked to, but your child has, and they're building relationships. And then it gets dangerous because, well, most children, most teens, even college students, they believe that, oh, this is legit, this is real, this is innocent. But they don't know that they're being groomed. This is a way that they groom. This is how they study you. These are the things that are being hidden in plain sight. The intention behind what a predator is doing, right? So that is the social media aspect of it, the digital part of the digital world. In the physical world, kidnaps still do happen, but they're very vague in the sense of a child can be at a park not knowing that another child is trained to help their mom or dad kidnap another child. Can you help me find my dog? In today's society, that little simple, can you help me find my pet or find my dog or my friend or my toy, as children, you naturally want to have friends, right? Your kid, you're at the park, you're having fun, and then all of a sudden it's like, where'd my child go? Well, if you were a child, you would naturally just want to have fun. You would go with the other child, make a new friend, and now you're off finding a toy. Well, in today's society, that little 2 or 3 seconds, this is all it takes. Mom, look what I'm doing. And you just on your phone. Dad, help me with the slides. I'm going to get there. And then you look up, and then your child is gone. So this is what I mean when I say, or when they say something, say something. Because it doesn't take but a few seconds for a child to be gone that quickly because you decided to look down or give your attention somewhere else. And this is why I say, if you want to be a hero, it starts at home. Love your children. Love your family. Because at any moment, they could be gone, child or adult. I was sex trafficked for 9 years, raped for 9 years, beaten for 9 years, drugged for 9 years. Did not know how to function into society till after 5 years. I was 23 years old when I got my freedom and still didn't know how to be free. But it takes people like you that are willing to spread the word, that is willing to fight back, that is willing to combat. Do you know this right here alone can stop suicide? A lot of you have in your hands a piece of paper that says 42 for Boys to Men. That is one of the books that I wrote. And it talks about how men make up 42% of the human trafficking sex trade. That's $60 billion out of $150 billion industry that Forbes listed some years ago. I'm sure that the ratings or statistics are a lot higher now for some of the things that have not been seen. I say that to say this: you are experiencing and witnessing and listening to one survivor out of the millions that are being sexed, labored, forced through bondage, organ doned today. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. And I truly appreciate every single one of you that is helping fight in combat.
Devin, thank you for just your courage, because I'm sure anybody who has a lived experience, every time you share that story, while you're grateful for the freedom that you walk in, you still carry the weight. And so it's not a small thing, you coming and sharing your story. One of the things that Devin said that really stuck out to me was that he was always crying out through his eyes. So for the nursing student, I think one of the best things that we can do is to take the time to actually look people in the eye. It's not a comfortable thing. Sometimes it's really uncomfortable. But what I have found is that compassion and comfort don't coexist well. A lot of times, if we're going to walk in compassion, we're going to be in uncomfortable spaces. So just simply looking somebody in the eye, are you okay? Is there anything that I can do to help? It helps them to feel safe, to feel seen. Their words might not be able to share what they're going through, but I think all of us can recognize that our eyes speak so much. And so whether we're on the front lines as first responders, whether we're teachers in the classroom, whether we're parents at home with kids, in so many different roles in our community, if we'll just take the time to truly see people, being a hero starts at home. My heart is for this next generation. And when it comes to human trafficking, that's the cost, is the next generation. Like many of you, I follow the news, I follow the headlines. I see the kids that are going missing. Traffickers used to have to look for opportunities on a street corner, in a park, somebody coming out of an abandoned building. But now they sit behind a computer screen and they create opportunities. And so what is our call today? And here's what I want to say. We're going to close with a song. And as we close and as you listen to this song, I want you to just let it settle. Because what we've talked about today is heavy. And it would be really easy to walk out and say, wow, that was good, but then nothing ever changes. Here's the thing, you don't have to do everything, but you can do something. Every single person being exploited, they're not a statistic. They're someone's child. They're God's child. So I just want to give a few simple next steps. First, pay attention. What we said here today matters. Start noticing, start having conversations, sitting at the kitchen table with your neighbor out on the front porch. Because awareness isn't just information, it's what we need to interrupt this cycle. Second, get connected. You don't have to carry this alone. That's why organizations like the Value of One, like Project Light, that's why we exist. Because we're building a community that says, not here, not in our city, not on our watch. So whether that's having somebody come in to speak to your civics group, to your classroom, to your Bible study group, wherever people are gathered together, organizations like Project Light will come and will share and will raise awareness. Third, give. Trafficking is the second largest criminal enterprise in the world. $236 billion is made through human trafficking. Traffickers and predators, they have unlimited resources. And sometimes it feels like a David and Goliath kind of thing that we're facing. But if we would partner together, we can fill those gaps. Here's what I want you to hear most clearly. This isn't someone else's fight. This is our fight. And the good news, we're not walking into darkness empty-handed. We carry the light. And the light always pushes back the darkness. So, as our students come to share this final song, if you feel led to respond, whether it's just sitting silently in your seat, maybe if you're a person of faith, you pray, I want you to think about, what does this mean for me? What does this mean for my family? What does this mean for my community? What does this mean for us as the global humanity? Because all of those that are caught up in exploitation, they are all God's children, and they matter.